station for jazz and justice, WPFW, Washington.
Before police in America were called police, they were called slave patrols. Their job was to provide surveillance of black folks' whereabouts, to capture runaways, return them to the plantation, death camps, and execute punishment to uppity Africans, to either break their spirit or kill them. It seems that not much has changed. On June 11th, Robert Lawrence White came in contact with a 21st century slave patroller, or police, as he walked down his neighborhood street. Within 2 minutes, he was shot multiple times and died in the streets of Silver Spring. A young mother migrated to the United States from Nigeria. Little did she know that her son would encounter a slave patroller, policeman, and he would also die at the hands of Montgomery County Police. We will spend the hour talking to community activists fighting against police killings. You can join in the conversation at 202-588-0893.
WPFW, your station for jazz and justice.
Welcome back. My name is Dr. Marsha Coleman Adebayo, and we are discussing two brutal murders of unarmed black men in Montgomery County, Maryland. We're joined by Comfort Oludupe, who is affectionately known to us in the movement as Sis Comfort. Her son, Emmanuel, was also killed by Montgomery County Police. We're also continue to be joined by our panelists from this morning, Shayla and Kishmi. So welcome back, everyone. Why don't we start with Sis Comfort? Your son, Emmanuel Okutuga, was killed by Montgomery County Police on February 19th, 2011. He would have graduated in 3 months from Bowie State University. Could you share the details of what happened?
First of all, before I proceed, I'm Emmanuel Olajide Okutuga's mom, and I would like you all to join me in a moment of silent prayer for all the stolen lives. May the good Lord rest their soul in everlasting peace.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, as you have mentioned, Emmanuel was 3 months shy from graduating from Bowie State University when he was murdered. I listened to Miss Sheila Davis talk about 2 seconds.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. My son only have 30 minutes.
30 minutes?
30 seconds.
30 seconds, right.
Sorry. 30 seconds looks like 30 years. But my son only had 30 seconds. Officer Christopher Jordan was on Coastville Road.
By the AFI, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Right?
Writing on a related matter. Okay, there was a minor collision report, and according to the eyewitnesses, my son went to City Place Mall trying to access employees only. That was the crime. A black man trying to access employees only.
Is that the parking of employees only what?
I'm not even sure up until today.
Oh, okay.
They said there's an entrance, employees only.
Oh, I see, an entrance. Okay.
Yes. And he was trying to access the employees only, and the security chased him out of the mall. And he said, I'm not even, just like Mr. White, I'm not even going to mess with you. I'm out of here. And he was going. But the security officer saw Officer Jordan on the other side of Colesville writing a minor collision report, and he called him and said, arrest this guy. He was trying to access employees only. And there was an altercation between him and I. And I want you to arrest him so that he doesn't come back here. And that's according to the eyewitnesses. So, and he was coming from work. We are vendors. And you can view, I made a documentary on justiceforemmanuel.com. You can see my child. I'm very close. God has really blessed me with 5 good children. I'm very close to all my children. And they all have college degrees from reputable colleges. Elizabeth Okutuga had her MBA from Johns Hopkins University in environmental engineering. Isaiah went to University of Maryland, master's in accounting. Deborah, MBA from Bowie State University. And Caroline was the one in the military, went to the United States Navy. So we work very hard to provide better life for our children. Okay, and you can listen to my child on that phone, on that video. He made a video for me on Mother's Day that my mom works her hands off and make me a man. I always tell them, stay in school, be the best you can be. And if you had told me in a million years, I don't even know anyone that stand in the street corner selling drugs, that will happen to me. That is why I'm urging all your listeners to please get involved. Because if you think it can never happen to you, you better think again. So according to the eyewitnesses, he started to leave. And then Officer Jordan approached him and said, he told him to stop leaving like 30 times in 30 seconds. According to the eyewitnesses, he pulled out his taser gun, but because he was trying to explain, I haven't done anything. They can see him, with the gesture. But, people who view the video, just like Mr. White, portion of this crime was also recorded on a Montgomery-owned liquor store. They could see him saying, leave me alone, I haven't done anything. I just didn't know that was employees only. You can see him trying to explain. And this officer said, if you move an inch, I'll blow your head up. And that was exactly what he did. And 3 days after my son was murdered, I contacted an attorney who went to the liquor store, Mr. McDaniel, and reviewed the video. And if you go on the website, it was also on the homepage, it was also explaining what he saw on the video, that my son was on the sidewalk backing away from the officer with his backpack in his back and his homework and all the books, because we know after they killed him, they went inside the backpack. Unfortunately, they saw the ice pick that we use. I put it on the video too, what we use the ice pick for as vendors. So
it's to break the ice.
It's to break the ice
that you put the drinks on top of.
Yeah, because we knew they went inside the backpack, because that's how they get his school ID, and they called Bowie State, and Bowie State gave them the address, and they come knocking on the door that we're sorry for your loss. That's how we know they must have went inside the backpack, because it was coming from work. So when we contacted Mr. McDaniel, and he told us that there was an video that was recorded of portion of this crime, and he invited me to come and view the last minutes of my child. I said, in my culture, I'm a Nigerian American. In my culture, you're supposed to know the beginning of your child's life, not the end. So I employed him to make sure you secure the video, and that in case we have to, file, then, and he assured me that the video is safe. But, just like Mr. White, it was the same case scenario. So this brought back all the bad memory.
So when you say the same case scenario, it means that you never saw the video.
I was invited to come and view the video,
but you didn't see it.
I declined. Yes,
right.
I didn't see it. But
so
my attorney saw it, and he came on national TV and described what he saw. And if you go on my website, I tape him and I put it on this website.
So what happened to the video?
They said somebody in the
someone in Montgomery
County
Police
mistakenly deleted the video.
So I believe we have a caller on the line. So, hi, this is Marcia Coleman Adebayo. What's at stake? Are you on the line? Hello?
Yes. Hello.
Oh, hi, this is Marcia Coleman Adebayo. I understand you have a question?
Comment, if it's all right, Dr. Marcia. This is Aize, a friend of Lucy Murphy.
Yes.
And I'm, my heart goes out to the families for this tragic loss. And what I wanted to do was to lift up another community event that's happening today about gentrification in Tacoma Park. And, they're going to be voting to try and gentrify the Tacoma Junction. And it's happening at 7 p.m. And I'm calling on all activists and folk who are fired up not only about police injustice, but also developers and the fat cats who are taking over our communities to come on out and stand in solidarity with the people of, Tacoma Park who are trying to fight this. Many of the folk at the Tacoma Park co-op are going to be losing or, might be forced out of their employment situation. And so the address is 7500 Maple Avenue. It's happening today, 7 p.m. And, we're going to have folks standing with signs. We're going to have folks standing in solidarity saying, no, this is not what we're interested in.
Wow. Thank you so much. We appreciate your call.
Thank you, Dr. Marcia. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So this is another story of Emmanuel, with Emmanuel's mother here. And the similarities, I think, are obvious, are they not? Another young black man walking down the street like Mr. White, enjoying his day. And the police make the almost on the spot, one would think, decision to separate him from his life. And so if you could fast forward, because we only have about 5 minutes left on the program. Yes. What happened to the police officer, Christopher Jordan? What happened to him?
Nothing. He was put on administrative leave.
With pay?
With pay, of course, for 3 months. And then he's back on the force now. And the last time, myself and I was at the meeting on June 27th.
With who?
With Chief Major.
Montgomery County Police Commissioner Major.
Chief Major. And I keep emphasizing to him, if these police officers knows they can get away with murder, I don't see them stopping. You paying them to kill brown skin every 28 seconds. A brown skin or black skin is gunned down by the police in this country. And Montgomery County is no exception. This police officer was at Baltimore MP police department. In 4 years, he made 400 arrests. Where else can he go in the state that he can get away with murder?
Who was that who did that? Jordan?
No, Mr. Badgujar.
Oh, I see. He had made 400 arrests
In 4 years.
in 4 years, 100 a year. Wow, that's obscene.
Sounds like Dirty Harry.
It
That doesn't
does
sound
sound-
like a real person.
That just sounds incredible.
400 arrests
In 4 years.
in 4 years.
And what's interesting, too, about this particular police officer who killed Mr. White is that he'd only been on the force for, I think,
18 months
he'd been on the 18.
in Montgomery
before-
County.
Oh, so
Montgomery.
before he was in Montgomery County, he
He
was,
was in Baltimore. For 4 years, he made 400 arrests.
I see. So he was a known quantity. He was a known quantity. So they knew what they were getting when they hired
They do.
him. So we talk about structural racism. So would someone like to offer a definition of structural racism? Because now it's staring us in the face, right? I mean, would either one of you like to talk about structural racism? I mean, you know, this is what we call systemic racism, where the system actually perpetuates itself and perpetuates its goals and missions, right? So would you like to talk about structural racism?
Sure. So I'm going to talk about it from the perspective of systematic racism, as that's what I'm more familiar with, and it's all basically related. But basically, and to just kind of give just a quick note, a system is nothing if it cannot be replaced.
Yes.
It is nothing if it does not have something to take over in its absence, when it becomes unpopular or no longer functions. So systemic racism is really a institution created on social constructs to oppress, in this particular instance, non-white people. That every single aspect of life, from economy to, obviously in this case, policing, land ownership, everything, community, opportunity and mobility are all areas that are supervised, and for lack of a better word, by the institution of racism. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about chattel slavery and then its replacement with Jim Crow, and now what we're experiencing with mass incarceration, these are just examples of how a system itself is mutates.
It mutates, exactly. Which is the reason why I'm always confused when we talk about police reform. Because how do you reform a system that has its anchor in structural racism? Mm-hmm. Do you understand? I mean, how do you reform a system like that? Would you like to address that?
Yeah, and we do talk about police reform a lot. We talk about cultural competency trainings, and even if we go as far as anti-racism trainings, as you said, does it do enough just to say that this particular officer needs to behave this particular way if the entire system is deeply flawed? And over again, if people see that there is no recourse, as Sis Comfort was speaking about, then how do we ever have any trust in reform? There has to be ultimately transformation. And that looks very different than having cultural competency trainings with individual officers.
Right. One of the things that Sis Comfort did, I met her just for us to be transparent, because we had organized a series of demonstrations outside the Department of Justice called Justice Monday.
Yes.
And every Monday we were in front of the Department of Justice demonstrating because we wanted the report of investigation on Trayvon Martin's murder to be released. And under the Obama administration, they were determined to keep that report sealed. And so we were out there every single Monday demanding that they release it. We knew they really wanted to release, and they wanted to absolve Zimmerman. We knew that. They weren't going to charge him with civil rights crimes. But we wanted the administration to be honest about their loyalties, because we knew that we were dealing with structural racism. Mm-hmm. And to allow Zimmerman to punish him would have sent the wrong message to the people that, it's not okay to kill black people, right? That there are consequences. So that would have sent the wrong message. And so we went out there, and in fact, we were able to get that report released. And that forced the Obama administration at that point to announce that they were not going to bring charges against Zimmerman for the murder of Trayvon Martin, which we thought was important for people to understand where the loyalties really lie in this situation. Sis Comfort, I must tell you, actually testified at the Commission on Police Reform.
Yes, indeed.
Over and over and again. So, and I think they heard you.
They heard me, but still, there's no accountability. And I don't see this stopping. I pray and I hope, in a few months, we will not be discussing this issue again. Because, come to think of it, if they know they can get away with murder, if you do the crime, do the time. There's crime and punishment. But these people are getting away with murder. Why would they want to stop? Out of the goodness of their heart, why would they be killing black people in the first place?
Right. You look like you want to say something. Go ahead, let it go. We only have a few more minutes.
No, I'm just like, I have a lot of emotions, and usually when I get, which is a far cry from what my colleagues in my nonprofit know, that when I get emotional, I usually sometimes I just get quiet. So the reason that I'm being that way is because I'm really just trying to absorb. But, when we talk about police reform, we have to really define what that is supposed to look like, and understanding that this is not, like I've said before, that this is a long game, and that it is not going to the attempt will be to create something to take its place if we are not careful and in the rooms where these policies and things are being written. The things that are interesting about being engaged in activism, period, is just that it requires you to have the time to be available to go to Annapolis. You need to be able to read above a certain reading level to comprehend the laws that are being put in place. And the average person who may not have as much education, that's not accessible to them. So, I spent in my graduate school program, we spent a long time working on mobility justice, which isn't even something that folks think about. But again, when we talk about systemic racism, that is an area in which people of color are disenfranchised. A girl was taken off the train just simply for putting her feet up in California. And the setup of the meeting is very much so a higher level of understanding that is required to comprehend what is being said and done. And the people who are mostly affected by that are not the ones in the room. Right. And, getting into what we have to do to push the needle forward, again, we have to go out and engage. Even if you only have 5 minutes to do that, making certain that you are engaging with your community so that we can create a larger platform and make more noise.
Lakshmi?
Yeah, no, I think it's really important. We have been at the table with the Department of Justice to talk about these issues. And I was, as I was speaking about earlier, we're encouraged to have these relationships with law enforcement. But if we don't have the basis of anti-racism understanding, then sitting at the table and talking about the ways in which our communities are impacted by hate crimes doesn't really benefit us if we're encouraging more and more involvement of law enforcement in our communities to be there to police the streets to ensure that we're being protected from hate crimes, if then, they're victimizing other communities of color.
So we have 1 minute left. I'd like just to spend that last minute. How can people, Lakshmi, how can people contact you? Very quickly.
Yeah, so I'm reachable at lakshmi@salt.org. That's LAKSHMI @SAALT.org. I encourage folks to check out our website as well, salt.org, and to get involved with the work we do.
Okay, Shayla?
So Tacoma Park Mobilization has a Facebook page. Just look up Tacoma Park Mobilization. We also have a Twitter feed as well. Our incarceration group is reachable at incarceration@tp.org. So please feel free to reach out to us. We are Googleable. We are very much involved. And even though this is more so justice reform, we are also expanding into mass incarceration as well.
And Sis Comfort, very quickly.
JusticeForEmmanuel.com. And we are always looking for volunteers. Please get involved. And I want to thank Mr. Henry for being here today, one of the volunteers. Please go on the website, www.justiceforemmanuel.com. Thank you.
I'd like to thank all of our guests today. You've been absolutely wonderful and insightful. We appreciate your creativity and what you're bringing to the table. We'd like to thank our engineer, Mr. Michael Nasella, Our executive producer, Verna Avery Brown. I'm Marcia Coleman Adebayo. Passionately fight for justice with no fear.